From death's doorstep to a full recovery, the inspiring story of Gigi the owl. Are you ready for a heartwarming tale of rescue, recovery, and the deep bond that can form between humans and animals? Then you won't want to miss this incredible story of Gigi, a great horned owl who was rescued by the talented and compassionate Doug, also known as the bird of prey whisperer. When Gigi was found on the brink of death, it seemed like an impossible task to save her. But Doug and Missy refused to give up. Follow Gigi's journey from death's doorstep to a full recovery and get ready to have your heart melted by the incredible bond that formed between Gigi and Doug. You won't be able to hold back the tears when you see the moment that had the internet talking. Gigi giving Doug a hug that will stay with him forever. You won't want to miss this heartwarming tale of rescue and recovery. It was a dark and stormy night when Gigi the owl was hit by a car. She was left injured and alone, her life hanging in the balance. But fate was on her side, as a kind soul happened upon her and called for help. Wild at Heart, a rescue clinic in Mississippi, rushed to her aid and brought her in for treatment. Gigi was in rough shape, with a concussion and various infections and parasites. But Missy Doberson, the owner of the clinic, was not one to give up easily. She assigned her top employee, Doug Pajecki, to take charge of Gigi's care. Doug was determined to do everything in his power to save the beautiful owl. Gigi's recovery seemed like an impossible task, with Missy and Doug both believing that the injured owl would not make it. But despite the odds, they tirelessly worked to heal Gigi, even as her progress was slow and difficult. As she started to recover, Gigi formed a deep bond with Doug, who had been there for her every step of the way. Missy noticed a change in Gigi's behavior and body language as the owl began to trust Doug and accept his help. It became clear that they had done the impossible, saving a life that seemed beyond saving. Missy described the experience as truly remarkable, as Gigi had been in the worst condition she had ever seen at her clinic. It was a miraculous turnaround, and everyone was grateful for the hard work and dedication of Missy and Doug. Doug has the nickname the Bird of Prey Whisperer because of his long-standing reputation of working well with larger birds, particularly predatory birds such as owls. These types of animals are typically very difficult to care for, as they're prone to cantankerous behavior. Imagine trying to help an animal and having it bite, scratch, and attack you in return. It takes a special kind of person to have the patience, kindness, and selflessness to care for these animals. Doug is one such person. In fact, his work was so widely admired that he was promoted to president of the Wild at Heart Rescue Clinic. Together, Missy and Doug set out to ensure the owl's full recovery. Missy had been deeply impressed by Doug's work with Gigi, describing him as a truly unique and talented individual with an extraordinary ability to interact with birds of prey. She had never before seen anyone with such a natural gift for working with these animals. It was fortunate that Doug had so much experience under his belt before Gigi arrived at the clinic, as her recovery would require all of his expertise and skill. Gradually, with Doug's help, Gigi began to show signs of improvement. She regained the strength to feed herself, starting by accepting food from Doug's hand and eventually learning to pick up her own meals. This was a major accomplishment, but Doug knew that there was still more work to be done to fully rehabilitate the horned owl. Another milestone in Gigi's recovery came when she was able to stand on her own again. It was clear that the owl was making progress and was well on her way to a full recovery. As Missy put it, Gigi had gone from death's doorstep to perching proudly. With Gigi's condition stable, Doug took a short trip to visit family in Michigan, leaving Missy to continue caring for the recovering owl. Doug left Mississippi for Michigan with a promise of returning soon, but Gigi's recovery seemed to stall in his absence. The injured owl became more irritable and frustrated, and the clinic staff noticed a direct correlation between her change in demeanor and Doug's absence. It was clear that Gigi missed her friend and caretaker. Given her massive size, Gigi had been named after the word gigantic, a fitting moniker that had quickly caught on at the rescue clinic. While other employees worked with the owl in Doug's absence, they found that she was slightly hostile and none of them were able to form the same bond with her that Doug had. That's why Doug's return was so meaningful, as he was able to reestablish his special connection with Gigi. It was a truly heartwarming moment when Gigi saw that Doug had returned to the rescue clinic. As soon as he walked in, Gigi started dancing with excitement. Doug made a beeline for the horned owl, eager to check on her progress and give her an examination. As he approached, Gigi became more and more excited, bouncing around on his arm and bobbing her head. In a surprising and deeply touching gesture, Gigi then moved to Doug's chest and laid her head on his shoulder. Doug was taken aback, unsure of what to do, but he eventually wrapped his arms around the owl and returned her embrace. It was a beautiful and magical moment, and pictures of the reunion quickly swept the internet, leaving people stunned and moved by the sight of the horned owl giving Doug a full-on hug. This type of behavior is highly unusual for a horned owl, particularly one of Gigi's maturity, making the experience all the more extraordinary. The photos of Gigi hugging Doug quickly went viral on the internet, and Doug later spoke about the profound meaning behind the moment. As a child, Doug had a special connection with a great horned owl that lived on the roof of his family's barn. While the owl was elusive and hard to spot, Doug's father had a keen eye and was often able to spot it, stopping to point it out to the children. The owl was a rare and special sight for everyone in the family, except Doug's father, who seemed to have a special connection with the bird and saw it often over the years. Tragically, Doug's father passed away, and Doug recalls the day of his death. On that day, the same owl from Doug's childhood made an appearance at the family farm, sharing a moment with the family and making eye contact with Doug before flying away, never to be seen again. It was an emotional and memorable moment, one that Doug would never forget. It's no wonder that Doug's bond with Gigi, another great horned owl, was so meaningful to him. When Gigi hugged him, Doug was reminded of his father and was overwhelmed with emotion. It's a poignant and magical moment, one that speaks to the incredible connections we can have with animals, and the moments of kindness and generosity that transcend species. And just when you thought the story couldn't get any sweeter, Gigi did something that touched the hearts of everyone at the rescue clinic. After making a full recovery, it was time for Gigi to be returned to the wild. It was a bittersweet moment for her rescuers as they brought her back to the place where she was found, about 2 hours north of the Wild at Heart Rescue Clinic, and prepared to say goodbye. It was a touching and emotional moment, one that demonstrated the deep bond that had formed between Gigi and her caretakers. But things didn't go exactly as planned when it came time for Gigi to be released back into the wild. Doug and Missy opened her cage and set her free, watching as she flew up into the sky. To her surprise, however, Gigi didn't immediately fly away as other owls would have. Instead, she circled above them, glancing back at them periodically. It was then that Doug and Missy realized that Gigi didn't want to leave them, her new family. Her hesitation to leave proved to Doug that he had made a genuine connection with the owl, one that he would treasure forever. Despite their own emotions, the animal experts knew that their job was to help Gigi return to the wild. So with heavy hearts, they waved goodbye and urged her to move on. After one final look back, Gigi flew away, leaving the clinic staff to shed tears as they watched the owl thank them for her rescue in her own special way. It was a poignant and moving moment, one that demonstrated the strong bond that had formed between Gigi and her caretakers. Thank you for joining us on this heartwarming journey of rescue and recovery with Gigi, the great horned owl. We hope you were touched by the deep bond that formed between Gigi and Doug, the compassionate and skilled bird of prey whisperer. It's moments like these that remind us of the incredible connections that we can have with animals and the power of kindness and selflessness to overcome even the most difficult challenges. If you enjoyed this story and want to see more heartwarming tales of rescue and recovery, be sure to like and subscribe to our channel. We'll keep bringing you inspiring stories from the world of animals and the dedicated individuals who work to care for them. Thanks for watching.